Oh, and I think I think we can kind of jump right in with it. And as far as talking about mental health and talking about this year, you brought up this year. Um, just as a general question, how has mental health really played a role in your life over the years? And how would you describe your state of mental health during 2020 and right now as I'm speaking to you on Sunday, November 29th?
Ooh, mental health. So the first time that I would really got into mental health, I think I was maybe around 13 or 14. My mom, well, my parents and their united front, decided to take me to a counselor after a situation happened in my family. And kind of around the same time that I was pulled out of the closet,
Uh,
discovered, they thought it would be best for me to go talk to a church counselor, which I was very against. And I sat up there and didn't tell that man shit. And I was very guarded because I felt like I still was of the thinking in the frame of what is telling you all of my business going to do? Like, how is that going to help me? And it was very much teenage angst, very much like my parents wanted me to do it because since they wanted me to do it, I automatically didn't want to do it. So I was like, I'm going to stonewall as long as I can and see how long they keep this up. And I think I maybe did maybe 2 sessions, and it just was not a good experience at all for me. And then I think over the years, um, I think I think over the years I had been thinking of getting back into therapy because I was just feeling so many emotions and so much stuff. And I think every time I would like build myself up to get back into taking care of my mental health, then it would just be like, no, I can't do it. Um, but I think this time, um, oh no, I'm skipping. I'm skipping. I remember 19. 19. It was suggested by a doctor at the time that I go see a mental health therapist, and again, I was very against that. But then fast forward to 29, 30 years old. I was talking to a really good friend of mine. We've been like best friends since sixth grade. And she's in therapy. And I was like talking to her because I'm like, I'm having all of these emotions, all of these thoughts, all of these feelings. And I don't feel the best. I don't feel really good. I feel very alone. I feel abandoned. And I just need somebody to kind of tell me like I'm okay. And I'm not like, I don't want to use the word crazy, but I just want to make sure that I'm okay because right now I don't feel okay and I don't know when this will end and I don't know like how to get myself out of it. I think that was kind of my thing. Usually I'm able to smile and I can work myself out of it or I can like talk myself out of things and I couldn't and I felt like myself going kind of into my go-tos, my go-to coping mechanisms. And I was like, I don't want to do this. So now I've been back in therapy for 3 long, hard years of messy but incredible self-work and evaluation. And I've really, honestly, I think for the first time, really focusing and taking care of my mental health and going there. And today, how is my mental health? I'm nervous. I'm anxious. I'm a little fearful of being the guest of talking about my mental health for the first time. Um, but I am very much in I'm very much in good spirits and really just being aware of being present and acknowledging how I feel, which is a little bit of homesickness. It's the holidays, which is just a little bit of being tired because your boy's been out here working and telling myself to rest, forcing myself to rest. But overall, I'm good. I'm good today. So yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing all that. I think one of the things that came from me when you were saying that is that, people can lead you to like, okay, let's bring you to a church counselor, let's bring you to a therapist. But if you're not ready, to make that leap yourself, it's like you can't do it. So, you know, obviously you had to go along that journey. And then when you were ready and said, okay, I can't keep up this front anymore, that's when it came about. If you don't mind me asking, or if you don't mind sharing, you could completely say no. What were some of the coping mechanisms that you talked about earlier before you found therapy or before you really delved into therapy? I think a lot of us can talk about some of the general stuff, but I want to hear from you because you mentioned it, if you feel comfortable sharing with us.
Yeah, I mean, my top three are sex, drugs, and I would say shopping. Like, um, in examining myself in therapy, it's just been very, very mind blowing when I had to kind of identify what do you do, like I say, to work myself out of it. What do you do to make yourself feel better? And it was posed to me as kind of that. When you feel this way, what do you do? And I'm kind of like, well, I just go fuck. And I'm like, that's kind of like a coping mechanism for me where I would identify I feel validation, I feel worthy. I kind of get a little bit of like a beat on my chest a little bit. I feel self-assured after that, which is working through those things. When it comes to drugs, I examined my relationship with alcohol um, a lot, a lot, because I think it kind of started, especially with me drinking. It started at a very young age to numb and self-medicate, um, and I just liked the way that I felt. I felt uh, for me, I felt free. I felt like, okay, this is I don't have to think about anything. All of these things are gone. All of like I can just party and I'm fun Michael and everybody likes fun Michael and I'm, the center of attention and I don't have to think about my problems. I don't have to worry about anything. Um and it just became very like serious. There were a couple things in my life that were like, oh baby, thank you, Jesus. Oh my God. Um, but examining that and then shopping, I think I picked that up a lot from my mother. Just you don't feel good, you go shop. And so then it would be ending up with 55 records at my door, Amazon packages that just show up, or all of these kind of things that like those would probably be my top three. I would say of the things that aren't necessarily as good for me. But then the flip side as well is that I use a lot of it is working out. I now put a lot of it into the gym of coping through that at the time, which was kind of an escape and getting away from it. Escaping into art has always been a coping mechanism for me. Um, if that's acting, if that's writing, if it's any of those things, that's also, I think that was kind of the biggest form of therapy for me at the time. Probably those two. And then, yeah, I think those would probably be like some of the good and some of the bad to give a little bit of balance of it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a journey of kind of finding out which ones can help you kind of distract your mind and then maybe potentially self-destructive, whereas others can help you distract and then may kind of build you up. And that's kind of always a journey. And I think it's important to recognize that it is always the journey. So someone
Yeah.
doesn't just kind of fall completely away from some of the other things, the coping mechanisms, the go-to that were ingrained. But I think it's important to notice that shopping, things like working, sex, drugs, all those things are addiction we kind of go to for coping. I want to transition to we talked a little bit about some of the stuff that you do, and obviously you're a writer, performer, and actor. During this COVID-19 pandemic, you created the Black Gay Stuck at Home series. I know you've plugged it on CMP and on Revolutionary Health before, and people have seen it. Tell people about it, and why was it so important for you to create that space?
Yeah. Black Gay Stuck at Home is a project created by myself and Josh Jinks, who's an incredible partner. And pretty much kind of like the origin of it is Josh and I are internet friends. We've never met ever in real life. But Patrick Ian Polk had made a post about punks. I think he reposted something about punks on his page. And one of my friends reposted it and was like, oh my God, we should get together and do like a virtual, we should get together and do a movie night. But I was like, oh, COVID, like maybe we can do this virtually. So Josh reached out to me and we were like, okay, well, let's actually like do this and put it on. And so we were like, okay, let's, you know, do this film. Let's just do it. And like it just blew our minds that people actually came and sat on a Zoom call with us and like laughed about it and gave us memories. And it was a lot of people's first time actually seeing the movie. And we were like, okay. And Patrick Ian Polk came and sat with us for like
Yeah,
almost an hour. And we were just like, what the fuck? Like,
that's
what,
amazing.
like, is this shit real?
Right.
Um, and so I think, especially after that first screening, I called Josh and I was crying. It's been a lot of tears in 2020. I'm not ashamed to say I've been crying as much as I can. Um, but we were like, okay, this might actually be like a thing. We want to screen movies that center Black queer folks and lift up our ancestors, and also like bring in new filmmakers and new web series and new TV creators, and kind of give them a place in a opportunity to get their work displayed for free,
Mhm,
because we're all stuck at home
mhm.
and looking for a community space or looking for something, you know, to feel normal or what we're used to, but also getting to celebrate just like all the movies and all the films and things like that that I grew up with and grew around and may have not seen. Um, Honestly, that's really just what it was. It
Mm.
I didn't predict that this shit would do what it did. I never in my wildest dreams thought, like, we started, I think, in April, and I never thought that, you know, December 18th will be our last one. And I never could have predicted this, but I think it's something that we both we love to do, and it's organic and it's our heart.
Right.
And I think a lot of times the messages and the things that we get from black queer men, or even just because it's not all, you know, black gay space, but it's an affirming space, for all sexualities and genders. But just being able to celebrate and dance and laugh and share memories and give people a reason to be excited on a Friday night, every 2 weeks has been life changing. And I didn't know I needed this just as much as the people that come need it. Like, I needed a place to land all of these memories and emotions of what it was like sneaking and hiding to see Noah's Ark, or Punks, and Jumping the Broom, and all of these things. So yeah,
Right.
these are
Yeah, I
going
was
to
just
be
a
very long-winded answers today. So I just
no,
want you to be
I
prepared.
completely appreciate and see I'm a qualitative researcher, so like I will sit there and I will enjoy like listening to you talk. And I'm this episode is about you, so I want to make sure we focus on that. I'm not trying to interject my own stuff, but I was about to say it sounds like it was really, you know, transformative for you. And I'm sure you've heard amazing feedback from other Black queer folk that have engaged in the Black Gay Stuck at Home series. But I think it's important to note that when we create these kind of innovations, interventions, these spaces, they're as much for our own healing as they are for our communities, the communities that we serve and we're trying to get out there. So they used to call it with research, they called it me search, because you
Mm.
would do research on the stuff that was impacting you and important to your life. But I think it also can play into kind of how we all heal with some of the things that we deal with. You know, obviously today is November 29th. We're in the middle of the holidays. Thanksgiving just passed. You've got Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa coming up later on this month. And, you know, the holidays mean different things for different people. What have the holidays meant for you in the past? How have you celebrated them in the past? Kind of were they important? You know, what were kind of the traditions that you had? And then how has COVID-19, how is this year different and how has that impacted you?
Oh my God, Lord Jesus. I
Trying to
think the
channel my
holiday.
best Darian Aaron on this, but I know I'm probably failing. But
No, we're good.
I'm trying to get a good journalistic
It's a
questions on this.
conversation. It's a
Right.
conversation.
Right.
You're doing absolutely amazing. The holidays. The holidays for me have kind of been uh, they were always interesting. So moving to Jacksonville and being a military family, we had no family in Jacksonville. So all of majority of my family growing up was in Houston, Texas. So holidays for us normally look like us packing up a car and
Mm.
getting in a car and driving from Jacksonville, Florida, stopping probably in Mississippi, Biloxi, probably for the casino. I make this joke all the time to my parents and they don't like it, but I felt like I was raised in the casinos a lot of times.
You know what's
But
crazy
we,
that you're saying that is that I'm in Biloxi right now at a casino. Go ahead. I digress.
it's
Go ahead.
meant to be. My
Right.
God. Oh yes, I know that whole strip like the back of my hand. Oh yes. So then we would get to Texas, and I would have this overwhelming sense of like being with my family, of being with like all of these people that I love and get to share with, and it was a lot of good food. My Jesus. But being from Houston and now from a Floridian, most of the time we would do like gumbos and
Mm.
seafood, and it was non-traditional like holiday food for Thanksgiving, maybe and Christmas, but we'd still do some of the traditions. But one of the things that I always love about my mother is that my mother was very much um very much it was very important to her to have um all black decorations and figurines to kind of give us a different view of what necessarily Christmas meant, and maybe incorporating, I think, a little bit of like Kwanzaa things that she may not have realized at the time, but it was very much black. And it
Mm.
was a good time with my family. And it's changed from that over the years, just as my family has moved and we've gotten older and we've separated. It's become more about the kids. I think I absolutely love being an uncle. I love my kids, my babies, as I call them. And just to see them light up on Christmas and the holidays and getting to travel and seeing them makes me smile. And I just love being around the youthful energy and remembering how that was waking up on Christmas. And they remind me to not lose that as an adult. But I'm so homesick. Like I
Yeah.
am incredibly homesick. I think my parents have gotten used to me working a lot. And so they got together um, in Houston for Thanksgiving. My parents actually moved to Mississippi. This year has just been a lot. So my parents have moved to Mississippi, but they were in Houston for Thanksgiving. My sister was in Orlando, and my other sister was in Jacksonville. I was in Atlanta, and so and my brother is in Houston as well. So I think it has just changed for me, and I'm homesick, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm all of those emotions because I want to be able to see my family. I don't want to have to see them over Zoom. I want to be able to hug my grandma and just snuggle up under my pawpaw and just be a fucking kid and get that energy. And I'm here. Um, I'm here, and it's just incredibly fucking frustrating. I think that's the big things. But I think or at least try to tell myself that I am keeping them safe as well as keeping myself safe, and that's a little bit of comfort. I can't even lie; it's not really much, but knowing that they're safe and well, and my babies are okay. Um, but I would just love to hold them right now. So yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are going through that. And so your words kind of really hit home for me. I'm sure for a lot of people that will read Darian's article or see this video, it's just kind of changed everything. I can't visit, my mother and my sister and my niece and nephew in California. We all mutually decided that it just wasn't good. And as a public health official and a physician, I can't sit here and talk out the side of my neck and say, hey everybody, stay home. And you can't just get a test because you don't know what's going to happen on a plane or when you commute. But I want to be able to live this, but it's hard because it's kind of disrupted all these family traditions that we're used to. So
Yes.
I appreciate you sharing that with me because it's really, really heavy. So in these moments, like particularly now, 2020, COVID, what a friend of mine calls an acute on chronic exacerbation of racism. This has been like a really fucked up year for a lot of people.
Yeah.
How do you find, or where do you find your joy in these moments, and particularly in the holidays right now, especially with some of the stuff that's kind of weighing on you right now? Where do you find your joy? How do you get your joy?
Hmm.
That is one you're gonna have to think about sometimes, right?
It is. I'm trying to give myself time to because I could be like, yeah, yeah. Honestly, I think a lot of my joy right now is still in being able to talk to them. Um, I think that's still just being able to still hear my mama. Jesus, no matter no matter what it is, we have our Sunday calls now. I'm committed to building a better relationship with them. Um, but it brings me joy in hearing my parents' voice and know how far we've come. Um, and honestly, I think like a second home has been a lot of joy because it gives me something to look forward to, and now have a community of folks that I look forward to, and that gives me joy of being able to give other people joy and being of service. I think um, I think that that's been a lot of it. Honestly, the fact that Counter Narrative Project still has me doing revolutionary health brings me joy. I'm of service as well in that capacity. Um, and realizing that even of myself is that I like just being of service, and that does bring me joy to see other people happy and bringing smiles to their faces. I've been watching a lot of bad shit. I don't want to call anybody's name in particular, but things that bring me joy of just like getting me out of my head
Mm.
of, of some of the creators we have here. Of just watching it and being like, this is so ridiculous, but I have to laugh at it. It's funny. And I've just been doing a lot of like online rabbit holes, like Alvin Ailey rabbit holes. I've
Mm.
just been watching ballets, plays. The fact that I still get to perform as an actor, that
Hmm.
also gives me joy. I've still been able to act um, from the house, all
You're a
virtually from this little
thespian. You're
thing.
a thespian.
I be acting a little bit, y'all, just a little something. But that gives me so much joy to still be able to practice my art and leaning into music. I mean, this has become like such a big part of how people identify me as, and music and knowing that I can put on Cameo Candy or Lakeside Confunction, Prince, uh, and all of this, and it's just like I have to get up and I have to move, and um, so I think those are some of the things that bring me joy. Just trying to be present and honoring the joy of it all. I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it's good advice, and it's a beautiful thing. I think all of us know about going down the YouTube rabbit holes. One of my rabbit
Oh
holes that I've been going
Jesus.
down on YouTube, when I was in high school, there was a group called Rush. It was a rock band with three guys, and they produced this sound that was just like phenomenal. And I found one of my favorite songs is called Spirit of the Radio. And I found reaction videos from Black people listening to Spirit of the Radio, which is a song probably from the late 70s or early 80s. And
Is it that them
just
two young boys?
I watch them all the time. The two brothers, yeah, I watch them all the time. But the reaction and just and seeing people react to music that you have loved for decades, and seeing a new generation being introduced to them, which is the whole premise of those two brothers that are doing that, just brings me a lot of joy to see that. So I definitely understand what you're saying through that. And sharing that with myself and the people that are going to be watching and reading about your story. So we'll wrap up. I know usually with Alvin, he's kind of, when Revolutionary Health goes, he's getting us out at like 20
He's
minutes or
not
30.
here. As
He's
long as we need to, as long as listen, as long as we need to go, I am here.
So I just have one more question, actually, and it's kind of
Mhm.
like a general question. And it kind of ties together a lot of the stuff we've been talking about. It's been a fucked up year. COVID-19 has been happening, I think it's been really hard for a lot of us who are on the Black queer continuum. And on top of the other shit that we're putting up with and dealing with, now there's this extra stuff that's put on top of this. So I know there's a lot of people out there in our Black queer communities that are going through an awful lot right now. What you mentioned going to therapy, you mentioned some coping mechanisms earlier. What would you recommend? What's a positive message you can give people who are struggling right now? And, we talked about holidays. A lot of people, don't celebrate holidays with their families or have been kicked out of their homes, or holidays tend to be traumatic because of experiences that they've had in past occasions. So what would your advice be to them, or what encouragement or affirmation would you give, our Black queer, folk who are struggling at home and say, hey, this is what you can do. And they don't know where to start. They're like, I don't know resources. I don't know what to do. What would be the message that Michael J. Ward would give those folks out there?
Who is Jesus?
Take a sip of a drink if you got one there.
Come on, coping. This is water, people.
It's water. That's a healthy coping mechanism. Go ahead.
We'll start drinking later. I think I struggle with this because I will give context and then maybe I can kind of answer the question. I think I struggle with this question because I feel, and this is in my mind, this is my ego, this is me. I feel in my mind that I put out an image that I'm always happy, I'm always smiling, that, when you see me sitting in front of the bookshelf, that I'm in good spirits all the time, that I'm here. And a lot of times I have to work myself up to it a little bit of the time, not always, but it's coming in and out. So a lot of times, and I briefly touched on this, I think a little while ago on my Instagram with my mental health transparency moment, is that I've had to first honor how I feel. You can't hide from it. You have to honor it, and owning it and giving it a name to me, whether that's I don't feel good today, I don't feel good about myself today, I don't feel like getting up today, I'm just very unhappy. I think I honor my feelings first, and knowing that, so I would ask that people do that first, because that's going to kind of be the first step, and then finding ways to ask for help. Because even me getting back into therapy, like I said, my good friend Melanie, I had to ask her for help because I'm saying, like, I don't know, and it's okay. And I think so much as black queer men, and I want to use I statements, but I had such a big issue with vulnerability, of asking for help, of telling people that I'm not okay, I'm not feeling good today, because I felt like people would be dismissive or they don't know what to do with it. But get it out, because the longer that you fester and you hold on to it and all of this stuff stays on you and stays in your brain, it's not helping. It's really not helping you. So find a place for it to land. Right. And I'll say this too, therapy is not for everybody. So sometimes your therapy can look like going to take a walk. Sometimes it can look like, I also have a journal. I journal a lot. I want to get these things out of my head. Or luckily I have the CMP tribe where I can text and I can call and I'm like, hey, not feeling the best today. Or people check on me and I've learned to honor my feelings and say, I'm not okay today. And so I think finding a place for it to land is always good, but knowing that you are worthy, knowing that you are loved, knowing that you deserve to be here and that you are here for a reason, it all sounds very kooky and cliche and very textbook. Like, I know I'm all of these things, but honestly, truly take a moment and sit with yourself and think about those things and really know truly that you are loved and you're valuable and you're cared for, regardless of the things that have happened to you in the past. Today is a new day, and I try to remember to be present in it, is what I would recommend people. And know that it's a fucking journey. I put so much goddamn pressure on myself to have my life together at 30 and to have this life that I thought that it was going to be, and realizing that that caused so much anxiety and pain and fear and self worry and doubt and all of those things. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to have it all together. Every day you're taking a step towards your journey, and honor yourself in that, and know that you're working to be better. So like I said, there are moments when I just get under the covers and I don't fucking move and I cry, and I have to work myself out of that. And I remember that I'm loved. I love myself first and I honor that. That's very big. um but I know that there's something here, and there are people here that need me and want to see me win. um uh, I just still feel like it's tough. I still feel like it's tough because I have a support system, I have a network, and I'm privileged to be in therapy. But for those people that don't, I don't know. I just hope that helps. I hope that helps
No,
somebody. Yeah,
I think that's a good word, Michael. I really, really do. And I think, part of it is kind of acknowledging it, like you're saying, letting letting all of us know that it's okay because it's a struggle, and that all of us go through this stuff. I think is the first step, and then you can figure out what the positive things. And you're right, therapy isn't for everybody, but other things can be. So whether it's taking a walk, going to the gym, drinking water, zooming with family or friends, whatever is going to work for you. Don't let anybody shame you or tell you that that doesn't work, or that you have to go to therapy if you're feeling down, or that you should just get over it. I'm a big proponent,
yeah,
like you said, if I feel like shit, I'm gonna sit in it. I understand why people go to work and code it over and stay busy so they don't have to deal with stuff. For me, I have to sit in it. It's just a matter of not letting sitting in it paralyze you. You have to keep
yes.
moving at some point. And that's one of the things that I think you're speaking about, and the struggle. And I think part of the whole thing with
Oh,
COVID-19 and why it's so hard is that where I'm asking you to give advice, and you're like, sweetie, I'm going through my own shit right now. Like, what advice am I going
yeah,
to give? But that doesn't demerit what you're saying, because actually it gives it more credence to me. Because if you're going through this right now, you understand what I'm going through. You understand what a lot of other young and old and all along the age continuum Black queer folks are going through right now. And hearing your story, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, will help a lot of people, just hearing what you're saying right now and reading what Darian is going to write. So
I hope
I'm
so.
very thankful to you for doing that, and for being so vulnerable, because I know it's not easy. But just so you know, this show is about you, and we're talking about mental health through your lens. But I want to thank you for being so honest, because I know you say, "Oh, I'm just me," but you are tremendously inspiring to me. So I want to thank you, because I'm going through my
Thank
own
you.
shit this year. And so hearing what you're saying helps me process it as well. So I just want to thank you for sharing this space, today,
Well,
and
thank
allowing yourself to
you.
be vulnerable about this. I really, really appreciate it more than you know.
Thank
Um,
you. And I want to thank you too, because I think you sharing your journey of what you're going through in real time and how you feel, and that, I, that to me is somebody, like, from the outside of looking in, that it also gives me permission, and not necessarily permission because asking for permission, whatever,
yeah.
but it also lets me know that somebody else as well is working through what they're working through. And you too, I think, by sharing your story and what's happened, and kind of letting us in as much as you and your family do allow us, that really has been, like, for me, I haven't really seen a Black man, and regardless of how they identify, of being able to be that vulnerable and share that openly and publicly. And it's freeing. I think it's a freeing for me to be able to watch your journey as you go through, and to share that with you, and to say that I'm not okay today, you know so yeah.
And I'm kind of where you are right now. I'm like, yeah, I'm good today. Like, I'm not great. I'm not feeling down. I'm kind of like here. But actually speaking to you has lifted my spirit. So I'm very, very excited. And I know I'll
Good.
probably have a good cry after we sign off. So let's talk about World AIDS Day coming up on December 1st, as it's celebrated every year. And with regards to mental health, talk about the intersections for you personally with HIV, your mental health, and kind of that part of your journey, that aspect of your journey.
Oh wow. Oh wow. So remember when I was saying my second time at 19 was being
Right.
back in therapy? I look back on it now and I think that this was so ahead of its time, and I don't know like why I had never kind of like heard about like a lot of stories, but I remember for me, my doctor at the time that came in and gave me my diagnosis, and I was sitting there and I was just like, okay, okay, I got this. Okay, I'm falling apart. And I think the awesome thing, and I wish I could go back and hug him and thank him now. But he referred me to go see a mental health counselor, a therapist, because he was like, you're in his eyes, I'm pretty sure, because he was older and here is this almost, like almost man. I think I was at the time. I thought I had my shit together. I thought I knew it all. I thought, my shit didn't stink. I was still very much in that angsty teenage phase, 19. And I think just my energy at the point, he was like, you probably should go talk to somebody. And I think that that was so, even just by him asking me that kind of still stayed with me, and that always to me is something that I consider when newly diagnosed people like see the show and or they see me out here talking about it and they come and they tell me their stories, is that, do you have a place to land this, these things? And I think one of the things that HIV highlighted for me was how self-destructive I was. And to give context again, because it's going to be a very long answer, is that we talked about it on the show of I, attempted suicide and was having these thoughts of suicide and didn't commit suicide. But I think along my path and my journey of growing up, I did so many more things that were self-destructive as a means of trying to take myself out without me realizing it. So I think that also played into a lot of the sex, a lot of the drinking, a lot of like just balls to the wall. And so now having this diagnosis and now falling back on all of the things that I had previously done that worked um, for me, and feeling this incredible shame that I had failed my parents, and my daddy wasn't gonna like love me, and all of these things that came with this diagnosis, and hiding it, and letting it fester, and all of those things coming back up in so many just terrible ways, that mental health as well has been, and therapy for me has been a place to build up my confidence to now, I think more so this year, live my truth and realize that I liberate myself. I don't need people to liberate myself for me. I'm liberated by the fact that I now stand uh, in my HIV diagnosis, and that I'm loved, and I have people that love me, and I'm actively working through those feelings, and I don't hold those as tight as I used to. Um, but I think even not realizing how much my decisions were influenced and affected by me being a person living with HIV. And I feel liberated. I feel free. And I think I credit my therapist with giving me a space to to say all of those things out loud that I couldn't really say. Um, and also now finding a tribe of people that understand what it means to live with HIV has also been a form of mental health for me. Also of having that support system, of being affirmed and telling my story. So yeah, I honestly never thought here today with y'all people that I would ever say it out loud. I never thought that I would have the courage and the vulnerability and the strength to uh to tell my story and to say it. Um and to work myself through those feelings of shame and worthlessness and all of those things. And you know, my therapist told me a little while ago, and she was like, "You're not the same person that walked through my door," and that was virtually. But she was like, "You're not the same person that walked in my door 3 years ago. I definitely see the difference in you, and I'm proud of you, and I'm happy for you because for the first time, you're happy by yourself with no additions. That you're just yourself, and you stand in that, and you're happy in it." And I don't think I was able to say that before. Um, and that has definitely helped me like a lot, a lot with my diagnosis and just my mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful testimony. And it also speaks to the fact that, mental health isn't just something like we talk about HIV with mental health. It's not just, oh, once you get diagnosed with HIV, then you have to address your mental health.
Mm-mm.
You were struggling with mental health stuff before, and HIV is the thing that kind of steps in and says, okay, time to wake up. You can't ignore this anymore. And then for a lot of
Yeah.
people, and I include myself in this boat, when it happens to you, it stops you, and then it makes you reprioritize what you've been doing. And I think there is a process that many of us go through before getting diagnosed with HIV where it's not suicide. And I think I've said this before when we've talked about mental health on Revolutionary Health, but it's not kind of someone takes pills and overdoses or slits their wrists or sticks a gun in their mouth. It's kind of small little things that you do over time to destroy yourself. And it's you checking out. And
Yeah.
you're hoping that over time it will do that. And you're lucky if over time
Yeah.
it doesn't, and you learn something from it as you're moving along. And I think that's an important thing that I heard, with your
Yeah.
story as well.
Yeah. I think I'm in, and I think I'm fortunate. I think, because like I say, I think about all of those self-destructive things that I did, um, and put myself in positions of harm intentionally, and I'm still here. And yeah, I say it all the time. I never thought that I would live to be 18 years old. And the fact that I am here at 34 after not being the best of myself and not treating myself well, that there has to be a reason for this. There has to be. And I can't play small. I can no longer hold my power back because I'm afraid. And I think a lot of us do that. So yeah.
Yeah. Kudos to you for your journey. And again, I've told you this before, but I love you fiercely. And I am very, very inspired by you. So thank you so much
Thank you.
again. Um,